Good morning. I'm going to call this session of the Board of Revision to order. I'm going to start by acknowledging that we are Treaty 1 territory and it's the traditional homeland of the Métis Nation. With me, farthest to the right, is Richard Whitbread. Next to me, Brett McIntyre. My name is Harvey Diamond. The City Assessment Department is represented by Arif Das Mohammed, and our assistant is Hud Aziz. We will be hearing application revision of the assessment rules in accordance with the Municipal Assessment Act. The matters for which revision are requested will be described in each application, and we will limit discussion to those matters. The statement that applicants or the assessor may make at this hearing must be sworn testimony, and anyone speaking to a matter must be sworn in. Be advised that comparative assessments of properties are not considered as evidence by our board. Our board is appointed annually by council as independent audit and the city administration. We make our decisions based on the evidence that we hear, and we issue written orders that we mail to all parties as soon as possible. Please note that our decisions with respect to an application may be appealed to the Manitoba Municipal Board if the matter pertains to assessed value or classification, or to the Court of Queen's Bench if the matter pertains to an application for exemption from taxation, and should a party wish to appeal, information on how to do so will be included with our order. With respect to the hearing process, I will confirm the matters to be addressed with each applicant following their swearing in. We'll then have the assessor's testimony followed by any questions. The applicant then will provide their testimony followed by questions, and each party will be given an opportunity to summarize if they wish to do so. Once all the evidence on an application is brought forward, the applicant may leave. The person will repeat for each matter on the agenda today, and after all the applications have been heard, we will deliberate in private, and we'll issue written orders by registered mail as soon as possible. Information today is being recorded and live streamed and forming part of our public record. Thank you for the partnership.
Would you like to swear in on the Bible or to affirm? Please state your full name.
Arif Das Mohammed?
And do you affirm the evidence you're about to present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
Thank you. Swear in on the Bible. Please state your full name.
Les Sitkowski.
And do you swear the evidence you're about to present is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you.
Okay, Ms. Mohammed, we're going to start with 12 Chester, and you can proceed when you're ready to do so.
Okay. Good morning, everybody. If I could just start with making a statement about the non-recoverable expenses. It'll take 2 seconds.
Absolutely.
Okay. I just want to say that the non-recoverable expense sampling, the model generated estimates of net operating income are derived from income expense information reported to the Assessment Taxation Department by Winnipeg property owners. The Assessment Taxation Department has allowed for non-recoverable expenses as follows: a 2% non-recoverable expense allowance and a shortfall allowance of a shortfall allowance per square foot to account for non-recoverable expenses associated with vacant space. To test the model, a sampling of properties with actual income expense data was submitted, and that data was utilized. Using that data, stabilized effective income and non-recoverable expenses totals were calculated. Comparing the sample data to model-generated NOIs, it was evident that the 2% non-recoverable expense allowance is consistent with the market data. The methodology utilized by the department is consistent with other jurisdictions such as Saskatchewan and Ontario.
Okay, and you know, Mr. Sitkowski, you heard that. If you have any, you want to make it 5%, to be fair, I'll allow you to do so. If you don't want to make it now, I'll let you do so later.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think there have been many arguments received by the board over the last several weeks, arguing to reinstate that 5%. So I'm not sure whether I will continue that argument. What I would like to do is I would like to present decisions by the board reinstating the 5% non-recoverable costs. So I don't have any arguments to make other than the decisions that were made by the board and just following up on the arguments that have been made previously. So I would just like to leave it at that.
Okay, well, you know what, you can hand those out anytime you wish to do so.
Okay. And the the decisions actually specify the reinstatement of the 5%
Well,
non-recoverable.
we'll see what they say.
Yes,
You know.
absolutely, but I highlighted the areas where those decisions are reinstated.
Okay, so thinking apart, you decide the 5% right now, then, you can proceed with your brief.
I do have other,
And
Yeah,
we'll-
well,
and it
I
will be
can do that
argued,
rebuttal.
it will be argued, you know,
Okay.
there's an opening statement you made, I'm sure we'll be hearing more about 5% than we wish to even hear, but we're not gonna preclude anybody arguing it.
okay.
And we've heard it all before, I can tell you.
Okay,
And yes, and Mr. Chairman, and that's why I don't think, I would like to rehash those arguments, because you've heard it many times.
Many times. Many times.
So we'll start with the first property, it's 12 Chester Street, roll number is 14093884600. The roll year is 2020, reference date is April 1st, 2018. The assessed value is $646,000. The number of buildings is one, it's one premise, one story, actual year built is 1971, the effective date is 1971. Wall height is 16 feet, it's zoning a commercial corridor. The land area is 24,187 square feet. Plan area is 5,170 square feet. There's no basement. The gross floor area is 5,170, and the leasable area is 5,212. The land to plan area is 4.68. On the next page, we see that there's a lease in place right now, and it's a net lease, and it's at $881 per square feet. And this has been leased out at that rate since October 1st, 2014. On the following page, I have my comparables. So the comparables range in net rent per square feet at $8 to $8.71. The wall height ranges from 15 to 20 feet. And the leased area is similar to the subject, and it's between 3,000 and just over 6,000 square feet. They're all current leases in relation to the reference date. On the following page is our workup. So overall, we're using $8.92, which is just slightly over the rent that is, actual rent that is charged, but we're using a vacancy loss allowance of 5%, even though there's been a long time tenant in there. We're using 2% for the expenses, and the cap rate we're using is 6.55%, and that gives us an estimated market value of $646,000. On pages 8 and 9, you'll see the map of the subject property, the parcel boundaries, and then on page 9 is an overhead view of the subject. On page 10 is my comparables. I wanna and then on page 12 is the rent roll, and then on the following pages is the cap rate studies and evidence. So yeah. And I'm open to questions.
Okay, Mr. Sikowski, if you have any questions of the session, you can ask them now.
Thank you, Candy. Thank you. Mr. Dosthamet, this building age is 1971, so it's about almost 50 years old.
Right?
Would you consider building this old at near the end of its lifespan?
Tell you the truth, I haven't viewed the inside, but I have driven by it. So I'm
But
going.
in general, buildings that were built in the late 60s, 70s, early 70s, age is around 50-ish, would those types of buildings be near as opposed to?
No, it depends on the upkeep of the, how
But
much
there have
upkeep.
been, in this particular instance, it appears that there have been no.
Well, that's not a question you're gonna make, that's an argument you're
Sorry,
gonna make, that's fine.
yes, I accept that, Mr. Chairman. In short, again, I didn't quite understand or hear your response to my question. So the question is that being a 50-year-old building, would you consider a 50-year-old building being near the end of its
No, it
lifespan?
depends on the maintenance, upkeep of the property.
Okay, thank you. And the rent that you're using for this property, that's a model market rent?
Right,
You're not
same
using
with
that-
the vacancy.
Okay.
And we could see the subject has been getting $8.81 dollars per square feet since 2014.
So, with respect to page 6, page 6, a new page that's referring to capitalization rates, you have listed capitalization rates from 4 or 5 different sources.
We have our own source, and then we're just comparing it with market, other people in the market.
Okay. So this, I'm assuming that this would fall somewhere under industrial A or B, is that correct?
Right.
Is it B or A?
Well, like I said, the reason we have these other sub A's and B's is just to compare it with other management in the market. So within our model, there is no A and B. It's A. It's all A.
So for example, under the column, the first columns of City Winnipeg market rent study, sorry, not market rent, capitalization rate study, you have, you show a low of 550 and a high of 980 per square foot. So the low of 550, what type of property would that apply to normally?
A high-end property, something that's recently built.
Investment grade?
Depending on location.
So it's an investment grade property?
Well, they're all investment
So,
grade is what I figure. They're all income producing.
So the subject property, where would that fall between the 550 and 980? Are you saying that would
Well,
fall in?
6.55 is what we have for our cap rate.
So that's a reasonable cap rate
I would say so,
for a
yes.
building that's 50 years old?
Depending on the age and the
Well,
location
And the location,
sorry?
Oh, I'm sorry, sorry.
Age, size, and location is what we base the cap rates on.
Okay, so this is a 50-year-old building, the
So,
location,
you're talking about capital costs, so they may be different, but we're talking about age, size, and location of the building. So we believe that 6.55 is proper for this building.
all right, those are my questions, thank you so
Thank
much.
you. Mr. Whipper, do you have any questions with the
Couple.
assessor? Go ahead.
I maybe missed this. Did you visit the property?
No, I drove by it, but I didn't schedule a appointment for it.
So obviously you're unable to comment on the interior and the
no.
condition.
Yeah.
Okay? So if I follow that line of questioning on where you place this in your scale, if we look at 5.5 to 9.80, and then I jump over to 6.34, I'm on your page 6, 6.34 to 780 at the 80th percentile. Is it fair to say you're somewhere between 20th and 80th percentile in your assessment?
And yes, and 60% of all properties in Winnipeg land in there.
But I'm only talking about this property. Somewhere closer to 20% then, correct?
Right.
Can you tell me what that means?
It's closer to the higher end of the properties that are out for it.
Because I heard the applicant say something to the, or maybe you said this, 5.5 would equal a high-grade property.
A higher, yes.
So you're assessing this as a this 50-year-old building
With-
as a pretty high-grade property
Yes.
in the 25th
Per
percentile?
yeah, so, but I'm, yes.
Yeah. And my other question was answered. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Mr. Benedict, do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. So on page 1, is there a mezzanine in this building?
Not that I'm aware of, it's only one story.
So So the leasable area
Yes, I was wondering what the.
bigger than the gross floor
Yeah.
area?
Yeah, I'm not sure if there's outside, non-heat, like, I'm not sure. But that's what the, if you look on page 12, that's what the landlord has indicated.
Okay, on page 2, the lease with Alliance Marine and Sport was only 1 year, so it has expired?
Going back to the other income expense mailers, they started previous to October 1st, 2014, but October 1st, 2014 is when they started paying $8.81. I have a rent of $7.83 in January 1st, 2014 to September 30th, 2014.
So are they still in the building?
Yes. As far as I know.
And page 3, you have a roll number but no information, so I assume you want to delete that roll number?
So which-
04002815.
that's the 919 McLeod.
Sorry,
Well,
it's 919 McLeod?
Yeah.
oh, I see
Yeah,
how it's done.
the roll
Instead of
numbers
the
are
roll
after,
number
yeah.
being the top, it's,
Okay.
that was all my questions.
Okay, so in accessory warehouse, I guess, each of the building is probably pertinent to some degree for, as
Yes.
far as cap rate is concerned. And land to building ratio is also something that would be considered.
Yes,
Because you
yeah.
have to be able to drive trucks in and to load them and everything.
Yep, the land to, the plan ratio for the subject is 4.68.
Right.
The comparables are, they range from 3.83 to 5.71, with the exception being 670 Raleigh, which is, it's really high, it's 17.45.
Right. And also, wall height is important because how can you
yeah.
stack things inside it?
Right.
And loading doors are also an important factor.
Right, the subject is 16 feet, whereas the average wall height for the comparables range from 15 to 20.
Right.
So,
And the higher, the better, obviously, when you.
right, so, looking at the subject and the comparables, the rents are pretty much in line with what we have. So.
And I don't know about doorways here in this building, but, you know, I'm talking about loading docks and
Right.
things, but do you have any knowledge of how they
No, I
compare with the?
don't. Like I said, I haven't visited the property.
Okay, well, see what Mr. Stokowski has to say about that. Okay, thank you. Okay, so Mr. Stokowski, you can present your brief.
Thank you so much. I presented my brief on the day that it was supposed to be presented. However, what I would like to present to the board is an amendment to that brief.
Well, okay, hang on, though, you know, if it's new evidence, we're not allowed to take it.
It's a rebuttal in essence.
Rebutting-
Based on the decisions that I presented to the board, the decisions spell out not only the reinstatement of the 5% non-recoverable costs, but also spell out that what cap rate that particular panel was using for those industrial properties. So what I'd like to do is I wanted to amend the capitalization rate to reflect the decisions that were made by the
Okay, because we can't take new evidence unless Mr. Les Mohammed is prepared to
No,
accept, let
what
us
I
do
was
so.
presenting was with the brief, and the brief is basically taking our figures and just changing the non-recoverables, so I wasn't prepared for cap rates, the evidence, or anything else. So,
Okay, I'd like to make this decision myself, because we have a panel here, and so I think that we're gonna, you both have issued, we've got both your proceedings, you want to put it in, you don't want it.
well, the evidence that I was presenting.
No, that's
was,
fine,
yeah.
but I want to talk it over with my panel members, we're gonna make a decision on whether we're gonna allow it or not.
So, Mr. Chairman, maybe if I could just clarify for a second. So, this new brief is based on the rebuttal evidence I presented, and it just includes the new capitalization rates.
I understand, but if you're
And
gonna.
it just for your,
So if you're using it for your basic argument, it's new evidence. If you're gonna use it as rebuttal to what the city has already indicated, rebuttal is gotta be rebuttal. It can't be You're
Okay.
bringing things that we don't have
Okay.
before.
All right.
You're allowed to rebut, and I'll let you do that, but you're not allowed to bring new evidence unless the assessor was prepared to let you do so, because there's a filing date limit. Now, that's my position, but I'm not gonna let my position alone dictate what our panel does. So I will talk it over with the other members, and we'll determine whether,
And I'm sorry to interrupt,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, but it's just a clarification, it's just for your convenience, I recalculated the market value of these particular buildings based on new capitalization rates, or the capitalization rate that I included. So it's just for your convenience to, rather than using your calculator to, if you should agree to the new capitalization rates.
okay, well, if it's that, we can use our calculators, so
Okay.
that'll make it simple.
Okay.
So you're saying you don't we have to put that in?
All right,
You can orally say whatever you want to say,
thank you so much.
okay? And your evidence, you're sworn to tell the truth,
Mhm.
and we're capable of using our calculators to calculate. So if that's the case, I don't have to determine whether your material is admissible or not at this point,
Thank you so much.
okay?
Thank you.
Okay, so you present your argument then.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So essentially, my argument is going to be the same for all four properties. And that is, in essence, I'm arguing to reinstate the 5% non-recoverable expenses. And as mentioned earlier in this hearing, you've heard this argument ad nauseum, and decisions have been made. I'm arguing to support my position about reinstating that 5% non-recoverable.
Okay, that's your only position then, is that you want the 5% added in to all of them. In other words, you're basically an acceptance.
Yes, I'm in acceptance of the market rent
Okay.
that has been used for all of the
And
properties.
the cap rates.
We just had the discussion about the cap rate, so what I would like to do is, I would like to,
Okay, well, if you have an argument on cap rates.
we could do that later, okay.
Go
So,
ahead.
but in essence, I guess, and I'm not sure whether we should go through all of these properties, but in essence, as I said, my argument is going to be the same.
If your argument is the same for all four of them.
Yeah.
And you're telling us that all the evidence you give in this one, you want us to carry forward the others, we can do that.
Okay.
And we don't have to.
So I'm accepting the market rents.
Okay,
I'm asking for the board to reinstate the 5% non-recoverable.
right.
And then as rebuttal evidence, based on the decisions that I submitted, some decisions that I've submitted, showing the cap rate to be somewhere between 7.25 and 7.5, I'd like to use those cap rates for these properties.
Of course, the decisions that make stipulate cap rates might not be that helpful, because we don't know what the other properties exactly, the parameters of everything in them, and we're going to describe that in much detail in the decisions.
I understand that. I actually was at this hearing, I actually presented evidence at this hearing, so those are industrial properties that are not too dissimilar from what we're looking at today.
Okay, well,
Well, except we don't have the age of the building.
the
Like
land,
this one just
the
submitted.
land to building, ratio, the type of doorways they have, the height of the,
Wall height and-
those are all things that are
Yes.
pertinent in warehousing.
No, I agree. Unfortunately, I thought I had written all that down, but I see I haven't.
Yeah, so I'm saying decisions might not be that helpful unless they determine the cap rate.
Okay.
But
So-
certainly, anything verbally you want to say about it, I'll allow you to do so.
Okay,
Okay?
thank you.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. So, in addition to what I just said a few moments ago, so I'm not sure that, we obviously need to go through all of these properties as I accept. But,
And I agree that you can make your argument once and we'll carry it forward to all four of them if you.
and
so.
the only difference is that I'm asking for the cap rate to be increased to 7.5% in for 12 Chester. I'm asking for 730 Narren to be increased to 7.5.
937 Thomas?
That particular one is a newer, it has a lot of upgrades, so I've actually, that one I think was at 7.15, the cap
We're not
rate.
there yet, we'll get there, but,
Oh, okay.
so you're happy with the cap rate the city's already,
Yes, I'm happy with that one, because that's a newer building.
Okay.
Or it's been upgraded, yes.
and 803 Narren Street?
803. Okay, I just wanted to reinstate the 5% non-recoverable cost on that particular
Okay,
one.
okay. And it's not, you're asking for non-recoverable on all four of them?
Yes, I am.
Right, okay. That's your evidence then?
That is my presentation.
Okay, if you have any questions, right now we're dealing with the
Yeah.
Chester property, so if you have any questions of Mrs. Kowski on that one?
I have decisions that take into consideration 2% instead of the.
Yeah, you know what, why don't we wait to the end,
Okay,
and we'll argue the 5% at the end of it.
so,
Let's just deal with,
okay, so your workup basically agrees with all my calculations except for the 5%.
And I'm asking to increase the cap rate to 7.5%.
So do you have market-based evidence to increase it to 7?
Well, I've submitted as a rebuttal cap rate studies. I've also, you know, looked at the cap rate studies presented by yourself in your brief, and
Do you have pictures of the interiors then?
no, I don't, no.
Mr. Chairman, I may add, this is the second quarter of 2018, so it's post-reference.
So,
so you heard what Mr.
Yes,
McIntyre indicated, we
yes.
can't look at post-reference materials.
But it's, I think in the brief, because that's a Wakefield cap rate study you're referring to. Sorry, Cushman and Wakefield, and they actually do, the city actually has that particular study in their brief as well, on page 6, sorry.
Okay,
in regards to the non-recoverable expenses, do you have any market-based evidence to allow for the 5%?
I don't have any evidence. As I mentioned to you, all I have are the decisions that have been made, and I'm familiar with some of the arguments.
Okay, I have no further questions.
any questions, Mr. Hooper?
No, I think I'm fine, thank you.
No question.
And I don't think that. Okay,
Thank you so much.
thank you, we're gonna go through all four of them.
Yes, I understand.
Okay. Yeah, we're now gonna do the property on Narren Avenue, I don't have it, here, hang on a second.
Oh, there's another one that we're doing? I thought we finished.
Well, I want the city to go through their material, and then you're.
I understand, sorry.
Okay, and then Mr. Dustin Hammond's gonna wanna make a presentation on the 5% that you asked for.
Oh,
For the
yes.
city's
yes,
guidance,
yes.
right? And you can ask some questions on it, okay? Yeah, we're done, thanks.
Sorry, which one are we doing next?
Narren, we're doing the property at 730 Narren Avenue.
Okay, so 730 Marin Avenue, roll number 14093882000. Roll year 2020, reference date is April 1st, 2018. Assessed value is $726,000. It's one building, one premise, one story. Actually, year built was 1969. Effective year built is 1969. Wall height is 16. And it's zoned commercial corridor. The land area is 31,056 square feet, plan area is 6,000. Gross floor area and leasable area is 6,000. Land to plan area is 5.18. On pages 8 and 9 are the pictures of the, so there's a map there, there's the subject parcel boundaries. On page 9 is the aerial view. On page 2, we have the lease, which has been in place since September 2011. It's a net lease, it's for the whole building, and the net rent is $10.50. On the next page are my comparables. The comparables range in age from 1956 to 1983, so they're similar in age. Their current leases, the square footage ranges from 4,800 to 8,000 square feet, so they're similar. The net rent is only $8 to $8.81, and those are market rents. On the next page, you'll see our workup of $8.71 is the average that we're using, or sorry, the rent per square foot overall we're using. And I just want to point out on page 12, we can see from the tenant roll that the subject, if you work out the math, the subject is being rented at $10.50 per square feet. Back to page 4, so we're using a 5% vacancy even though the subject has been leased for a long term. And the overall cap rate we're using is 6.55. So with the NOI of $47,526, the estimated market value comes to $726,000. And I just want to point out, if we were to use the actual rents, the NOI would be $57,528 with a market value of $878,000. And then I have pictures of the comps. I'll point out on page 10, you'll see the subject is in red at the top there, 12 Chester, and the Narren, 730 Narren is the subject in red, and the comparable, which was previous property, is right beside it basically. Yeah, so I'll take questions now.
Mrs. Kowski, any questions on the assessor on this?
Yes, no, Mr. Dost Mohammed, so in this presentation, the presentation prior, you use market or modeled numbers.
Mm-hmm.
So can I just ask you, so why do you bring up the fact that, for example, that this particular property has been tenanted for some time? You bring up the actual rent that this property is generating. I mean, if you're using model
I want to point out that
numbers,
it's, like you were
You know what,
saying,
Mrs. Kowski, what basically it shows is that it's performing very well. You've got arguments on cap rate, and I think that the cap rate it might be an issue. And certainly if the property is performing as well as it is, an investor would say, wow, this thing is bringing in a lot more rent than you'd expect of a property like that. And I think it makes your cap rate argument harder, but I think it's very pertinent to have given us that information. And I don't think there's anything wrong with Mr. Dost Mohammed.
no, I'm not necessarily saying that there's anything
Okay.
wrong. I mean, I'm just saying is that when you either present one argument, you either zero in on the property and
Well, I can see you being upset if they use the actual rent when they're using market, but they haven't.
But Mr. Dost Mohammed actually did bring up.
He did, but he hasn't said, I want to increase the assessment because of it.
Mhm.
So I think the owner of this property, I think, is pretty lucky because he may be underassessed.
Well, I may have an argument about
Anyway,
that.
go ahead.
Because I mean, if you're, obviously, at least in my opinion, if you're valuing properties based on the models,
Right.
and
And the
that's
city has
what-
used the model.
and he has used, so I'm not sure I understand why he, he's saying that, well, this property, and just like you just said, well, I think that the owner is lucky that we use the model information as
Well, the fact
opposed
is,
to.
you are going to argue cap rate, and I think that when it performs as well, I think it's harder to argue that you should get a higher cap rate. That's my opinion.
Mhm.
And I'm telling you that now you can maybe convince me that I'm wrong in feeling that way. And so that's why I wanted you to know that that's where I'm leaning,
Okay, thank you.
because that gives you opportunity to try to convince me otherwise. If you know how I was thinking, you wouldn't have that opportunity. So I'm giving it to you,
Thank you.
okay?
Sorry, I forgot what I
Okay,
had
go
questions.
ahead.
So this building is 50-year-old building, again, the same question is, because of its age,
So I spoke to the actual rents, just to show you that it is performing better than what we're using for the cap rates, and
all right, well, I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
Any questions of the assessor?
I'm fine, thank you.
No questions.
I don't either. Thank you. Okay, and you've already given us your argument, you want the 5%, and you think that the cap rate should be
Yes.
higher at,
Yes.
do you want to say anything more about the cap rate after
No.
what I told you?
No.
Okay. Okay, the next is going to deal with 937 Thomas Avenue. Are you ready, Mr. Esmander?
So the roll number is 14093869100. The address is 937 Thomas Avenue. And I would just like to request that the burden of proof be placed on the applicant for non-cooperation. If you look at page 12 and 13 of the brief, page 12, this is the only thing that we received for the income expense questionnaire. It's one tenant, it's just 537, but it's actually like a strip building. So 939 to 951 Thomas Avenue are not included in this rent roll. And we don't know if it's included in the income expense. I'm assuming not.
Okay, so maybe you can take us through, the sending the request for particulars and,
Yeah, so the information that we asked for is not complete, and that's why we're asking for non-compliance on this one. We don't have rent roll or income expense information for 939 Thomas, 941 Thomas, 943 Thomas, 945 Thomas, 947 Thomas, 949 Thomas, and 951 Thomas, which are all included on the rent roll.
okay, and
Or sorry, on the roll number.
do you have a copy of the letter that was sent to the owner?
I have the income expense that was returned.
Right.
Uh,
No, I see you got something, but I don't know what,
There's the roll numbers on there, that's all that, yeah.
yeah, because, okay, so we have to assume then that you asked for more than that.
The roll number.
I don't send a letter of understanding, but I have to say that we have to know what the city really requested. You know, if this
Yes,
applies or not.
the city requested it for that roll number, and on that roll number
Okay.
are all the
Oh.
addresses.
So it has all, yeah,
Yeah,
we didn't see the letter though, okay. Mr. Sikowski, your position on that?
I believe I don't know if in our conversations, if I'm not mistaken, I alluded to the fact that information was not provided to the.
yes, and
to the
I
board.
I had
okay.
also mentioned that we would be
Okay,
seeking.
So then you
non-
have to proceed first, the
Okay.
this proof is on you,
Yes,
and you're aware of the fact that even if you're successful today, that
it would be delayed.
it'll be late till next year.
Yes.
Okay, fair enough.
Well, I don't have any more arguments other than the ones that I presented. In this particular case, I'm agreeing because there have been major renovations to this building. I agree to the cap rate of 7.15%. My only argument is with respect to the reinstatement of the 5% non-recoverable expenses.
Okay.
Just again, you don't have any evidence to support the 5%.
You have to ask any questions that you asked before, because we'll carry them through.
Okay.
All the evidence.
Yeah, I have no other
We've
questions.
already agreed that we'll carry the evidence from one to the other, so.
Okay,
That's
so
fine.
I have no further questions.
And any questions that came up that haven't been asked before, from board members?
No question.
Okay, thank you. Okay, go ahead with your, with Mr. Westmeyer.
It's roll number, I said it again, I'll say it again, 140938699100, 937 Thomas Avenue, roll year is 2020, reference year is April 1st, 2018, assessed value is $973,000. It's 2 buildings, there's 8 premises in there, it's 1 story. Year built is 1977 to 2006. Effective year built is in the same range. The wall height is 14 feet. It's zone manufacturing general. The land area is 51,465 square feet. The plan area is 10,351 square feet. Gross floor area is 10,351 square feet. Leasable area is 10,120 square feet. Land to plan area is 4.97. From what we were able to gather from previous rent rolls, we just have 2. I'm not sure if the other ones are also non-compliant, but we have 2 there that are net rents at $7 and 1 at $7.14. On the next page are my comparables. So they're all current leases. The wall heights are 14 to 22 feet. I've used leased area, if you look at the comps, so I've used one for, to compare with the whole building if it was leased to one tenant, and then the other ones I've compared to just the actual units. So the lease rates range from $7 to $7.75, and the ages of the properties are similar to the subject, ranging from 1975 to 1999. On the next page, page 4, we're using an overall rent of $7.59. We're using a vacancy rate of 5%. We're using expenses of 2%, and our overall cap rate is 7.15%. With a net operating income of $69,598, we have a estimated market value of $973,000.
Thank you. Any questions, Mrs. Kowski?
Just one question with respect to the information shown on page 1. You show the actual year this building was built in 1977. Is that an error? Should it state that the actual year built was 1997 and then the effective age is 2006?
This was the information we had on file, so.
Because I don't understand what that means, actual year built 1977 to 2006. Are you saying that there were a whole bunch of additions were made?
Yeah, there was, I guess, renovations, there was permits taken out, so there's been renos done to the property.
So the effective age is 2006, in short.
It would be somewhere in between there, so, yeah.
I don't know.
Any questions, Mr. Luker?
No questions, thank you.
Madam Chair?
No question.
Okay, no questions. Okay, so that takes us to 803 Aaron Street. When you're ready, Mr. Westmeyer, you can proceed.
Okay, so the roll year, the roll number is 13011252500. Address is 803 Aaron Street. The roll year is 2020. Reference date is April 1st, 2018, and the assessed value is $1,007,000. There's 5 buildings. There's 3 premises on site. There's some of the buildings are 1-story. There's one that's 2-story. And it ranges because I take it the buildings are built in different stages, so they range from 1912 to 1995. Effective year built is 1912 to 1995. We're assuming that the effective age is 1954 on this. So it's zoned manufacturing light. Land area is 30,164 square feet. Plan area is 18,881 square feet. Basement is 3,609 square feet. Gross floor area is 26,099 square feet. Leasable area is 22,490 square feet. Land to plan area is 1.6. On pages 8 to 9 are the map photos and parcel boundaries and overhead photos. Turning to page 2, this is a part owner occupied building, so they've included just the tenant on the tenant roll here, and it's a gross rent of $6.86. The next page shows my comparables. I'll just say the comparable land to plan area ranges from 1.28 to 2.49, with the exception of 945 Elgin, which is comp 3. It's the land to plan area on that is 5.86. The net rent per square foot fleet rent ranges from 4.5 to 6.77 dollars. The average wall height is 12 to 18 feet, which is in line with the subject. They're all current leases, and again, I have shown the comparables show that whether you were leasing the whole building or different parts of the building, the rents are, those are the rents that that's shown there. On the next page, page 4, we have an overall rate of $5 per square feet that we're using. We're using a vacancy loss of 6%. Again, the effect, the non-recoverable expenses that we're allowing is 2%. And on this, we're utilizing an overall cap rate of 9.8%. We have a net operating income of $98,641. $98,641. With the cap rate of 9.8%, works out to an estimated market value of $1,007,000.
Thank you. Any questions, Mr. Sikowski?
Again, just a similar question that I had before, and that's with respect to page 1 and we're talking about the actual year built and the effective year. So again, the actual year built is 1912 and the effective age is?
No, they're built in different stages, so 1912 to 1995. The effective year that we're using for the overall is 1954 on this.
The effective year is 1954?
Yes.
Because that is kind of misleading when you say effective year. You should have just said effective year was 1954.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's why you use one of the reasons why you use such a high cap rate, I would assume.
Yes.
That's.
Okay, on this one, you're basically just saying you want the 5%.
That's right.
On all of them.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now you said you want to make a presentation on the 5%. I'll let you do so before we.
No, I did that. I just wanted to hand out as a rebuttal to the 5% decisions. I have 2% decisions.
I have one question on this one.
Okay, go ahead. Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
I didn't imagine any questions, but go ahead and ask it.
Page 2, you have incomplete information provided by landlord in regards to 2 other premises for the year ending December 31st, 2017. Why wouldn't you go for a deferral?
Because it was part owner occupied, we figured a lot of owners do that, they just don't put in their premise.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was it.
Okay. Okay, well, thank you. We'll read all this stuff over quickly before we make our decisions, and
All right.
receive them as soon as they're available. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you kindly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Apologies for my earnestness.
Oh, you don't apologize.
Okay.
You may-